Welcome to Obstacle Running Adventures.
Over the last 7 years, we have consistently released weekly episodes focusing on
obstacle course racing, running, and other adventures.
You'll hear interviews, event recaps, conversations about our sport,
quick news updates about happenings in our community.
And now, here are your hosts,
Standing on the corner,
Michael Stefano and Caitlin Ritter.
Hey guys, it's Michael Stefano.
And Caitlin Ritter.
And Caitlin, how was your weekend?
It was good. On Saturday, are we telling the people?
Sure. Which thing?
What do you mean, which thing?
Which thing are we telling the people?
That we are adopting a cat?
Oh, the exciting bouquet. Not you picking through the kitty litter to try to find string that our other cat ate.
Well, yes, Timber ate ribbon. And that was like a foot long, and we were waiting to see if he was going to pass it or need to go to the emergency room. And dug through his poop today and pulled it apart, and that cat ate a foot of string. I don't understand.
Nothing like showing that we're responsible cat owners before we look into getting another cat, like having our other cat eat a bunch of string.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Oh, I thought about that a lot, yeah.
That's terrible.
Other than that, I got to enjoy the holiday off. Was it MLK Day?
Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. birthday.
Yeah, and Mondays and Wednesdays at my work are the hardest, so any reason to take a Monday off? Sure. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors.
Shout out Mudgear. Use code ADVENTURE for 15% off your next Mudgear purchase and Caterpie. Use OCR Report 20 for 20% off your next Caterpie purchase.
Perfect. We're going to shout out the $5+ Patreon supporters.
Jason Dupree, Samantha Thompson, Dave Claxton, Bradley Keel, Charlotte Engelman, Aaron Grindstaff, Kenny West, Cheryl Miller, Jessica Johnson, Nick Riker, Christopher Hoover, Kevin Gregory Jr., Evan Irick, Brent George, Kevin Prater, Wendell Lagash, Logan Nagel, Patrick Brown, Asa Connington, Seth Renderknech, Laura and Stephen Ritter, and Hank and Arlene Stefano.
Perfect. And a shout out to the OCR Report.
And Will Hicks. The Podfather.
Check it out over at theocrreport.com. No real updates from them. I don't know what's going on
I was
right now.
so clunky.
Yeah, well, that's why I hit it, so they won't know how clunky it was. And a shout out to our sponsored athletes.
Javier Escobar, Kelly Sullivan, Ryan Brizzalara, and Joshua Reed.
Awesome, and we're going to get to poll results, which I forgot about until just now. So I asked, what sounds better? Not many votes here. Could have used more votes, but people don't care. They don't care. Alright, we have one vote for the new intro and outro, and no votes for the intros and outros in 2023, and not sure was 2 votes. So just trying to get across.
You know what's so weird? I voted.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you're not showing up. We're only seeing a total of 3 different voters. Just trying to see, is this mic better than the previous mic? Because it's heavier, it's more expensive, so it seems to be a better mic, but it just sounds different. I don't know if it's tinny.
Tinny?
Yeah.
What's that mean? It
means you're kind of talking into a tin can kind of thing.
Oh.
It's what happens if you do noise reduction too much times. It's a whole editing thing, but yeah, we don't want it to sound too bad like that either. Getting to quick news though, we only have one real news story. I actually delayed a day so I could find more news stories, but yeah, no, couldn't find any. But this comes to us from Brett Milks, in that there is the Beer Mile, the film, coming out spring 2024.
Holy smokes.
And there's a Kickstarter. I actually just watched the trailer before we recorded, and it looks pretty badass. They fundraised $28,906 out of their $27,800 goal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it looks like you can get your name listed in the credits on the website for $15, name in the film credits, $50, and a whole bunch of other more expensive things that you can get too. Oh, guest on the Beer Mile podcast. Damn! Associate producer for $5,000. Executive producer for $10,000. There's 2 backers of that. Well, that explains how they have so much money. So, congratulations to them. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. Secret links, there's 5 of them down below, so go and check those out. Oh, and I forgot about Meme of the Week. So I lost this one before, now I found it. I found it, which means Caitlin has to describe it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So it's a screen of 6 panels, and 5 of them are this woman. She goes, pimples, and then she holds up a product, 0. Blackheads, and then she holds up the product again, 0. And then she says, the payout for 2024 National Race Series, 0.
Yeah. It was supposed to be the one from the other day. It's a funny one. let's get to what this episode's all about. So last week we mentioned the news about Garfield Griffiths changing roles in Spartan in our quick news segment. It was a good reminder that we haven't had him on the show before. Fun fact, we actually thought about having him on as a potential guest instead of Adrian Bijanata on episode 352, which was regarding the Spartan acquisition of OCRWC. So for this interview, we talk about fun stuff like bacon, cigars, and his background as a DJ, but also favorite memories in the sport, race directing advice, and what the job change at Spartan means for him moving forward. So let's get to the interview with Garfield.
All right, so we'll start off with your name and where you're from.
My name is Garfield Griffiths. I am originally from the northeast of England, a beautiful city called Newcastle upon Tyne, and I currently live in South Florida, just outside Fort Lauderdale.
Awesome. And you are the creator of one of my all-time favorite obstacles, Spin City, aka Wheel World, correct?
Absolutely, yes, I am. That is one of mine, and I hated the name. Spin City was my name, and then Savage went and called it Wheel World. Personally, I hated it. I like Spin Class. Actually, Spin Class was another one I quite like.
Gotcha.
Because it teaches you a few things about yourself. But yeah, no, one I'm most proud of.
Yeah, you had a great episode with our friend Scott the Fan Knowles over at I Am a Spartan podcast, and something that came up there that I was really surprised by was you being a DJ at the first Ultra EDM show.
Yes, I was.
Can you tell me a little bit about that again? That's crazy.
So I was in the music industry for a long time. That's what brought me to the US. I was a DJ and a club promoter, an event promoter, which is kind of where the race director thing kind of morphed from. DJ'd all over the place, and I was doing very well. I got headhunted for South Beach, Miami. So that's why this guy from a coal mining city in the north of England ended up in South Beach, Miami. So yeah, I was DJing, doing all that fun stuff. And they put the first Ultra on, I think it was 98, 99. And a guy called Alex Ohms, who is now unfortunately passed, but he owned and was the editor of a magazine called Devox, which was the big club magazine back in Miami in the day. And he was a partner. I'm going to put this music festival on. I'm working with some partners. And this was the first one they ever did before they went to, now they're all over the world. And he said, yeah, I want to get you in there. We're doing like a trance tent, which is Gatecrash and a lot of the British sort of European trance sound, which is your thing. You're going to spin? I said, absolutely. And I ended up being the very first person to play a record. I always say that as my claim to fame. We were the first tent area to go live to the public. Everyone else was doing sound checks. So 3,000 people just zoomed into this tent because they heard music. So that was my mini claim to fame on that one was, I played the first ever track to the public at Ultra on Miami Beach in 98.
Very cool.
It was 99. Oh my God, I lose track of the years.
I won't tell you how old I was back then.
Don't tell me about, yeah.
Awesome. So let's really get into it now. So people may know you as a Spartan employee and may not remember your work with Savage, Battlefrog, which it took me forever to find this shirt. There we go.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Huya. I didn't realize until I put it on because it's kind of, this is the Huya shirt.
Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced that this is a men's shirt, but I never had the opportunity to get another shirt for obvious reasons.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I have a whole bunch of stuff, And
yeah.
I got Savage. I got shirts going back. I got Hero Rush and what was it again? Superhero Scramble. I got a load of shirts. I gotta go through my closet one day.
Yeah, I remember Superhero Scramble. That was a good race back in the
That was fun. I until they stopped paying the bills, and then it was just a bit of a nightmare. He was a local guy down here, so that's why I know.
Yes,
Ace O'Connor. Unfortunately, another one that passed.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Actually, I have a memory with Ace that it was the first time I lost my GoPro because before I got into podcasting and all that, I was doing event videos and editing all those down. And I lost my GoPro in one of the jumps. It just flew off my head, even though I went to grab for it. And personally sent it back to me and had this nice message. And he seemed like a good guy. So that was a bummer when I heard it.
Ace was a good guy. He was a terrible businessman, but he was he had some good ideas.
Yeah. But in addition to that, also OCRWC even before last year. So what has it been like seeing the sport from the viewpoint of so many brands over the years?
It's kind of a tricky one because it's not like I was, working for Savage or all these companies, and I was kind of when I was within the industry growing, when I still am, but it's kind of hard to say. It's like you don't notice yourself growing up, but every now and then you go, oh Christ, I'm old. That was kind of what I did. I know this is a bad description. So I was, as a savage, I wasn't thinking I'm a savage, Okay, then I'm a Battlefrog and I love the industry and I love the growth. But then all of a sudden, I think it was a few years ago, I was like, oh my God, it's all changed. Why are people not wearing kilts anymore? Where's the tutus? Because I'm like a mud runner. I'm old school. Like, it was fun. It was mud runs. It wasn't OCR, any cool stuff. And that's always been my kind of thing, is that I think that OCR lost a little something when it started taking itself seriously. And I think the magic for me, as Joe, Mr. Slow open heat runner, which is how I got into this. I probably ran 150, 200 bloody races over the last 12, 13 years. Not as many lately, but yeah. So I've been watching the industry change. I'm trying to word this in a way that doesn't sound negative, but I don't feel it went for the better. I think people just, the groups started getting more toxic, and it just, I don't know, there was an edge to it that I'm not a fan of. I always keep very, very vanilla my social media. That's deliberate. That's where the whole dad joke thing came in. It was my stance against people just being dickheads on Facebook. I thought, well, all right, if you're going to sort of argue about, I don't know, Trump, politics, religion, this race versus that race, Savage were taking jabs at Spartan, and I don't care. I mean, everyone's just doing their own thing. So I was like, and that's why I started. I was like, you know what? I'm going to post the stupidest, dumbest joke I can think of. And I just did it one day. I was like, there you go. Argue about that. And then the next day, I'll do another one. And I ended up doing every single day for 2.5 years.
Jesus.
I did a dad joke. And people were like, why? I said, I don't know, because everyone's so fucking serious.
I mean, with comedy, going back to George Carlin, he was very vocal on people spend so much time thinking about what makes us different from one another, that like sometimes comedy is a good way to make people like realize all the things that we have in common. So like laughing over it does more good than people think, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the industry's I think the industry's been amazing. It's been one hell of a ride. I mean, just some of the shit that I've done, I think about, like, oh my God, running up and down sand dunes in the Middle East, or standing, managing the finish line in like nuclear races in the UK with Mr. Mouse, who is legendary in our industry. Got to meet him and hang out. So that was some great stuff. But yeah, these days it's nice. It's fun, but it's definitely not the one that I fell in love with. Let's put it that way.
Fair. And I'm glad you.
Although I will say OCRWC, and I said this to Adrian and Rachel Ann and the guys at OCRWC this year. Ironically, prior to this situation, me changing, what have you. But I even said to them, I said, this has refreshed me. I feel refreshed. And it was that kind of raw OCRWC independent thing again, because I've been with Spartan and I get it. We're a big machine. We're global, blah, blah, blah. So things have to be a certain way. The OCRWC is more skinnier teeth, jumping in with 2 feet and just fucking going for it. And I miss that, I think. I miss the creativity a lot.
Yeah.
Like, we got a whole pile of lumber and wood left. Let's build an obstacle. I don't have that, you can't do that, Spartan, because, okay, so now we get the insurance company, the lawyers, and because it's global. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that was a long, long way around of saying, yes, the industry's great, but I feel it's lost a bit of its sparkle.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of the sparkle, going back to the tutus, I'm glad you said that, because I do remember when I first got into the sport, my first race was 2012, and I loved the just fun, excitement, adventure of it. I'm not a competitive person in the slightest. Our listeners definitely. Same. I just enjoy being out there. I like the challenge. I like being just a weekend warrior, something to look forward to for the weekend. And superhero scramble, like I would dress up as Batman. My wife, girlfriend at the time, would dress up as Robin, and we just had a blast. And while the competitiveness is definitely important for the sports side of it, it's just I do miss the race every weekend from like 2013 to 2015 was like prime time.
I couldn't avoid it. I mean, you were like literally, even in South Florida, where we don't have a lot going on these days. But I mean, every single weekend there was some race that had something to do with ancient history. Gladiator. There was one. There was a Gladiator. We got the Spartan. We got this. The tribal challenge, and I remember there was one, and I don't know if the guys, you might be watching, I don't know, but I guess he didn't really think too long, but he called it the Trojan Race. And I was like, dude, come on, seriously, think about it.
I mean, great sponsorship opportunity. Let's be frank.
It really was. I was like, so is the race really safe? I mean, how does it work? But every single weekend in South Florida, usually at Amelia Earhart Park, there was something. There was a race, and it was amazing. And I used to go Orlando. Used to have a whole bunch. We used to go to Central Florida for like Hog Wild, Monster Challenges, all these little mom and pop races, and that was a blast. And again, it was all, I'm a kilt man. I always wore my kilt. I still even wear my kilt when I run, just for shits and giggles. But it's, like I say, suddenly swithed over, and everyone's like, "Oh, I need like $600 sneakers to run this race." I'm like, I did that first one in a pair of fucking flip flops, I think, with some duct tape.
Yep. Yeah, and it's a bummer seeing a lot of those brands going away. Trojan, I wonder what happened to them. I'm sure they didn't break under pressure, because that's not really.
Yeah, they did a bum. Nice.
But and this is zombie runs and all that stuff too. What are some venues that you've loved over the years, whether they're still around or they've come and gone?
Then it's come and gone. It's easy. One of my favorite venues of all time is OCRWC 2014 and 15.
King's Domain.
King's Domain. Absolute legendary venue. Just everything you need. I think the only thing that I always said was missing, and I actually did find it for 2015, was water and a river. We had to kind of do some finagling with permits because it wasn't on the property. But I was like, this is the only thing that's missing is like dunking people, which is one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
So we but that, I mean, it had the amazing trails. It had those hills. It had like flat areas, so you can go flat out. It had the technical, the smorgasbord is, of everything that you want in an OCR was at that venue. And we even reached out to, I was talking to one of the Spartan guys in real estate, which is ironically the department I now work in. They were talking about something about a year ago, and I said, go to see what King's Domain's doing. Apparently it's like not like a halfway house, but like a drug rehabilitation place now. So, but that I think was one of my favorite venues. I'm trying to think of other ones. I think that would probably be it. Tryon. I love Tryon in Carolinas.
Right, I've heard a lot about that.
Yeah, apart from 2019 when we nearly killed everybody with the weather.
You can't control that.
The infamous 2019 Ultra in Tryon. Ask anyone about that one. That was off the charts. So I think that one is probably my favorite venue. I would say is off the top of my head. There's been so many. I'm trying to pick them out, but they all just start to look like one after a while.
Yeah, and any that are still around too, like any. Like a venue like you're assigned there.
You know what? So I don't mind, and I know it's been overly done, but I don't hate the Georgia Horse Park in Atlanta. I don't mind Conyers. It's got the road, but you get to go under the road and you do that, and you got the back end, you got some open areas, you got technical, you got bike trails, you got some elevation. I remember Battlefrog, our first ever in 14. We did the thickest, well, it wasn't bucket, it was a jerry can carry up and down this hill. And even Hobie Cole was like, you're a dick. That was fucking awful. So I was like, all right, we did something right. So I do like that one. Yeah.
Is that that one just, is that in Fairburn, Georgia? Is that where the world's toughest mudder was?
No. This one is in, I don't know. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, Georgia International Horse, but Conyers, Georgia.
Oh, Conyers is the name. Okay. I guess I didn't realize that. Yeah. That's pretty cool too.
But yeah, we like that venue. That's a decent venue.
Yeah. And then, I mean, being in here for so long, how and why do you think things changed over not just in Spartan, but just like the world of OCR? Like, why do you think it kind of got away from the fun tutus to like the super competitive stuff over
that is a great question, to be honest. And there's probably people way more educated than me that could answer that. But I would, and I'm really throwing out a guess, but it's when you start, let's say, OCR, mud runs, call it whatever the hell you want. You go out, you do a sprint, you do 3 miles. Now that was fun, and then it's kind of semi-human nature. You do a few of those. Even I did it. I was like, I'm going to go for. I think actually my first ever was 2012 as well. It was the Miami Super, and that's when the Supers were like 36 miles long.
Yep.
But I think it's just human nature to say, I want to do bigger, I want to go faster, I want to be better. Some people take it as a complete mantle and it takes over their life and they want to be the next Nicole Merkel or Ryan Atkins. They take it to the next level. But I think even Joe Public, even me, I was like, I'd like to I'm going to see if I can do a beast. Yeah. So you can't. So I think you, without realizing, you start pushing yourself. And as soon as you start pushing yourself, you're taking it a bit more seriously. You start fixing your diet. Okay, I need to get the proper shoes. And I think that's what the whole industry did. Again, totally spitballing. The whole industry just kind of kept progressing. And as we weren't filling it with a lot of new mud runner people, that's my uneducated thought on why it suddenly got to the point where everyone was taking it so bloody seriously and they stopped wearing tutus.
That's fair. And
bring back the tutus. That's my new hashtag.
I know, right? It's funny because my two good friends that I've met through OCR, every race they do, they wear not tutus but kilts. And they always get compliments. Yep.
Always. The only thing with a kilt is really, I tell you the worst thing about a kilt, and I've ran probably 60, 70 races in my kilt. Kilts, got lots. Is when Spartan had the rope climb over water, which is difficult enough coming out soaking wet. But if you're wearing a wet kilt and you're trying to wrap your legs around a rope in basically a skirt, very, very difficult to do. Yeah. Because you kind of put I'm not like one of those who can use just my hands. So, I wrap my legs around, I put my feet together, and I push up to get up the rope. But of course, I get my kilt caught under my heel. So I'm basically just taking my clothes off halfway up a rope in a puddle. So
I would say that's probably second worst. I would say worse is what happened to my friend at one of the Boston Spartan races over the past couple of years. He was wearing his kilt and he didn't realize that his compression shorts had ripped open. Hello. And he's doing bender, and the volunteer says, "Oh, I got quite a view there. Like, they're ripped. I can see everything." And he's thinking, "Ha ha ha." We finished the race. He realized completely busted open.
So you don't want to be the one climbing the rope behind him or climbing a wall behind him. Got it. Nope. That's fine.
Speaking to the competitive nature and stuff, though, who would you list for like the people, whether they're involved now or what you think they'll continue to do, like the Mount Rushmore of athletes? We'll do like 4 women, 4 men to keep on. So it's a whole bunch of random white dudes for the Mount Rushmore. But who would you put on that?
Most people who know me are going to be laughing now, like he has no idea. So I've never been a massive subscriber to the elite thing is huge and it helps the sport. But if you ask Hammond that, he's going to rattle off people and times and speeds and splits. I'm crap at that. I'll be honest. I mean, I would just be going with the obvious ones. I know Hobie he's done some polarizing things over the years, but as far as an athlete, the guy was a savage out there. He has to be, and he brought it to the masses, and Amelia Boone would be another one who I would put up there. Atkins goes without saying. Lindsay goes without saying. Nicole is, she's come back from an injury and she's crushing it. But there are lots of people that I probably don't even know their names that I would put up there. For me, to be honest, my Mount Rushmore would be slightly different. It would be more like people like Yara, who just got like 60,000 trifectas in 6 weeks and all that. People like that who I think are just a heart and soul. Like the not the moral compass, but the heart and soul of it. Those are the ones that I would like to give my own Mount Rushmore to. There's plenty of those.
Yeah, and in being a race director for so long, what are some things that you've learned over the years, some advice that you would kind of give to somebody else who's looking to do the sort of job that you've been doing so well for so long?
Should have thought of that one before I got on. Give me a second. I think it's funny. I would say don't sweat the small stuff, but you can't really say that because everything we do is a million small rotating pieces of putting an event on. I think one thing, and I've helped train quite a few race directors that are there now. One thing that I learned, and it just helps me, and I passed it on to them, and this is more of a stress management thing, but is obviously there's times when we're in the middle of it. We've got weather going on, we got lightning, we're calling out weather. Everyone, we got to hide, we got to do this, we got into weather protocol. Then someone loses a child. I've had this happen before. where literally the weather was so bad we had to evacuate the course, and everybody out, we're done, we're closing down. But then we had a lost child at the same time, which is the rule is you lock everything down and don't let anybody out. So I'm like, okay, so I'm evacuating everybody, but I can't let them out. And those are the things that just, they'll fuck up a few people's heads. So I've always said that in times like that to my racer, I said, dude, what you need to do is just stop dead. Because you're right in there, you're in this like 20 feet view. You need to stop. And whether you do it physically or cycle in your head, but step back out of the whole situation and start again.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds hard to explain, and it's kind of a reset in like the most stressful, because we do. I mean, it's sometimes incredibly stressful. People can be unpleasant. People, athletes, people, the chiming chip didn't work, or this didn't work, or this guy cheated, and I saw, it's nonstop. It's constant barrage of just stuff, which is the job. So I think that kind of resetting and take a breath, step back, look at the big picture, and then step back in would be my biggest tip for a race director. And obviously know your skill set. You have to really learn all of the different pieces, because, to be an RD, you got to be able to obviously design a course. You should definitely run them. I told all the RDs when I was working at the department, you really need to run a race. You can't RD a race without having any idea what the customer experience is. So that's another big one. Make sure you run the race, and just keep honing it, sharpen the saw, I believe the expression is.
Yeah.
So long way around saying don't fuck up.
Another thing that I've heard, and this might have been on Scott's podcast, I'm not too sure where I remember hearing this, but you're very vocal on not blaming the learner. Like you're very good in taking responsibility when something is your fault, whether it's have like course marking, understanding how Groupon tickets work, which I think was like way back in the day. It's up to you to kind of like step up and take the blame, which from any community can be pretty difficult. But with OCR community, they can get pretty intense. So
well, the thing is with that, and I've been doing that most of my life, and I actually read a book, and it goes into the same thing, and I was like, oh shit, I do that, and I read it. It's the Extreme Ownership book, the Jocko Willink, the Navy SEAL guy, and Extreme Ownership. That's exactly it. And I teach my kids the same. It's like, listen, when people come to you, and this is just me, when they come to you all pissed off and stressed or what have you, customer, my chip didn't work, my kid missed his heat, all that stuff. If you take the blame, or at least give them that, hey, look, I apologize that this has happened. That we should have done da-da-da. What can we have done better? All that kind of stuff. It diffuses it a lot. Because I tell you, when I'm a parent, and my kid, as soon as I say something to my kid, oh, it was him. That pisses me off more. My kid, and they randomly will do it, be like, you know what? I just didn't think that was on me. I apologize. I'm like, okay. So like, okay, they just Garfielded me back. But so that's one of my theory there is, and again, if it's someone new, if it's a race director that messes up, or someone on site, it's all right. What could I have done better? If I didn't train you well enough, I didn't give you the tools, you have to do that. Your leadership, you have to be the one to bear the cross, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the job, unfortunately, is to be the big catcher's mitt for shit.
Yeah. And then at the same time, balancing that with stepping away and not micromanaging, knowing your limits too, like that.
Very fine line.
Yeah. So obviously you've been with Spartan for a very long time. Something that you're very vocal about and on Instagram too is your love for cigars. So I'm just very curious, like Joe DeSena is known for like super like healthy habits. Cigars not, in that category.
Not quite.
Has he ever given you shit for that?
He has not. I don't even think he probably doesn't follow any of my social media anyway. And I don't really smoke them when I'm working, obviously.
Right.
So no, I haven't heard anything from him, but I have my arguments. I have my cigar arguments with my wife all the time. So I've got plenty of practice.
Yeah. And you've talked about your favorite cigar being a post-successful OCR cigar. But what are some of your favorites?
As in brands or moments?
Yeah. Well, brands.
There's a guy out in Nicaragua called AJ Fernandez, and he is just churning out some just amazing rich tobacco right now. So anything he touches is my absolute go-to. Probably means nothing to most people, but as far as the famous ones, I'm not a huge fan of the Cuban thing. Is great, but I think it's more the placebo effect, the fact that we can't get them, therefore they're rare, therefore they're better. And in this day and age, most people who are into cigars like me and nerd out in all the groups will say the same thing. It's like there are cigars coming out in Nicaragua just as good as the Cubans back in the day. So Cohiba would not be my answer because they're stupid expensive as well.
That's good to know. I have a friend that's big into cigars, and I never really know what to get him to. But I agree with the whole placebo effect. There was a beer Yingling, which is known as like America's first brewery.
I know it.
You couldn't get it in Massachusetts. You had to go to Pennsylvania for a time, and now you can get it anywhere. And I realize it's not the best. Not the best.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny how that works out. Taking the time to turn to memories, though. I know it's hard to kind of delve down in 12 or so years, but like, what are some memories that
I'm not that old. I'm not fully demented yet. I can probably go back 12 years. I think we'll see.
But like, what are some memories with different brands and everything? Like, what sticks out to you looking back on this long career?
It was very. I think the whole thing was just so. It really appealed to my creative juices. Battlefrog, designing all the obstacles. I'll be honest. I've said this to many people. My favorite part of the whole process of race directing is actually the prep, building, putting it together. By the time I come to race day, I'm like, okay. People it must be crazy on race day. I'm like, if I'm crazy on race, if a race director is crazy busy on race day, he did something wrong.
Right.
Something's going wrong. Something's not right. You should be shaking hands, kissing babies, and just monitoring your team running smooth as clockwork. Doesn't always happen that way, but so I would say the creativity of everything, just watching Battlefrog come and grow and do their thing. And yes, there were bad things with them and some things that were really done poorly, which I think is what cost them their actual their company. But Savage was great. I got to create some obstacles and do some stuff. And with Savage, I got to kind of repackage their pro, because they didn't really have a heavy duty pro presence. So that's what Sam kind of brought me in to do. So we launched, what do we call it? Savage Pro, right? Yeah, Savage Pro. And then Savage Kids or Savage Junior. So we repackaged that. I brought in foam machines for the kids to play in and all that. So that's all the stuff that sticks out to me is like, oh my God, let's take a foam machine and let's do that. And just being able to be that creative.
Yeah.
Right or wrong, good idea or bad idea. But and again, going back to what I said earlier, I do miss that a little bit. And we throw ideas out and we do have stuff at Spartan, but it's just such a big machine making changes on the fly that we used to do back in the day. It's just very difficult to do because you're in 35 countries and there's like 300 races this year all across the globe and you got to fix them all, sort of thing.
Yeah. What about favorite locations that you've been able to go to as part of the job too? Because I know that like Abu Dhabi sounds pretty amazing. I've never been to Greece before. Like I'm sure you being around the world, that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it was good. Abu Dhabi was amazing. Abu Dhabi year one, although logistically was just I had to step back multiple times a day and take stock and chill because it was insane. Just the logistics, because we were 4.5 hours into the desert. There was nothing there. We had one hotel and about 3 shops and stuff where we stayed. That was 2 hours away. That was the closest life. So that was a massive, but those dunes out there, this is like the movie stuff. You see movies of the desert, that's where they go. Liwa, the empty quarter. So yeah, and I made a point of just every now and then of just stopping. I told the team the same thing. I said, guys, do me a favor. I get it. We're working hard. We're getting crushed. We got to do this. Just take this time. Take an hour. Take the buggies. Drive out into the desert and just look. And it's like, holy shit! I get to do this. And that was kind of my thing. Was you have to do that because some people go and they just put their heads down. And I get it. It's a job. It's a job. But
right.
But Abu Dhabi was amazing. Greece. I've never done the Greece race. I've been to Greece many times, but never done the trifecta one there. Bahamas, that was an interesting one at Atlantis. Odd one, but it was a week and a half in Atlantis, expenses paid. So course, it was 165,000 degrees as we were building the race every day. But so I think they're my two favorites. Canada, Blue Mountain. I did like Collingwood. That's a really beautiful place. I love the downtown area. And again, I think that's about it. I can't think of any other. I mean, all the locations were great, but I think they were the fancier ones.
When you say Bahamas, were you thinking more of the Kids World Championship, or were you involved with the cruise back then too?
No, I was with Savage. I was with Savage and OCRWC then. No, the Kids World Championship. We did the sprint there for the adults and stuff, and I actually managed to persuade. We had to do some edits to the course to make it, but we actually allowed the kids to run the adult course. We had to customize a few things, but it was the first time that they'd ever ran the 5K. We had different size buckets and different size sandbags and stuff like that, and then we put kickers on certain high walls, and then they had to bypass a couple A-frame because the net they were a bit too small. They would have fell through the net. But we did that. It was amazing. Their kids loved it, getting to do the grown-up obstacles.
Yeah, that actually came up. My wife took that interview, but I believe we had Savannah Salinas, I think was her name. She did really well, and she was just talking about how exciting it was to like play on the adult obstacles and everything too. So that was noticed.
Okay, great.
Speaking about a competitor, you talked about how working with Savage and you helped get the pro everything going. How does it feel seeing them on the rise with their series and everything that they've been doing for the past? Well, this will be their third year. How's it feel seeing that too?
Good. No, that's on there. They do great stuff, and they are freaking amazing. Their swag is fantastic. Yeah. And their medals and everything they do, they're just absolutely spot on. I think I know the guy that makes them actually. But I'm not sure if I forwarded that information over, but I think it's good. I think it gives people it can only help Spartan. It can only help other competitive sports if there's more options,
right?
With money and all that stuff. Because I know it's, right now we're really the only game being played on a professional money level. So, that was one of the first things we did at Savage was cash prizes back in 2015. And I'll be honest, we deliberately said, let's make it a little bit more than Battlefrog. So we did that deliberately. I think they were doing $1,000. So we went, well, we'll do 1,500 for the first. And then they're doing 400. We'll do 600. So that was a deliberate move on our part. But no, I think it's great what they're doing. And wish them nothing but the success.
Yeah, I feel like competition is what, it makes all companies, do a little bit better too and try to one up themselves.
Absolutely.
If you could bring one brand back, with I don't know, with changes to infrastructure, management, all that stuff, what do you think you would bring back? Would it be Battlefrog, or is there anything else that comes to mind?
I mean, Battlefrog was such a great concept, and it was just so badly executed behind the scenes. I would probably say Battlefrog. Because it just added, it kind of had a certain rawness to it, which was deliberate. Yeah. Just the way we did the course and everything. I'd probably get rid of the bloody platinum rigs and replace them with Trust, so it doesn't take 17 weeks to build it. But I'd say Battlefrog with new leadership and owners.
Yeah. And then another kind of looking back question: if you could go back and tell yourself, when you were first kind of getting into the sport, some piece of advice, what's something you would tell yourself?
Get a real job. No. Piece of advice. Ooh, gosh, that's a good one. I honestly, you got me there. I can't think of a. Not that I'm saying I don't need advice. We all need advice, and I'm sure there's many things I could have done way, way better. I think I would like to have been earlier, a little bit more like I am now, if that makes sense. I think it's taken me a while and lots of races to hone my leadership a little bit. So again, the stepping out of a situation, that kind of stuff where I'm, back in the day, I would have just been heads in there, freaking losing my mind and doing it. So over the years, I've become better and better at handling the stress or the thing, whatever it might be. So yeah, I think it would be a case of just, if I was back then, I'd say just keep going the way you're going.
Yeah, that's good. And I think you also, in touching on
don't sweat this small stuff, all the things that you've realized now, and kind of like appreciate where you are while you were there.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's
smell the coffee. There you go. That'll be one. There you go. There's a tip. Like as I just mentioned about the Abu Dhabi thing.
Yeah.
Take a minute and enjoy what you do. And then it's not all about work. Just go stand. And, I talked about the post-event cigar, which is my thing when I had my own company, because my first ever company I owned it. So I could smoke cigars, whatever the hell I wanted. Yeah. So that's where that came from, was like, everything's done. Everyone's gone for the day. We've spent 6 months putting this together, and this is back in the day when you do 5,000 people without even marketing the bloody thing.
Right.
And that was that moment of like just enjoying it. And I'd walk through the festival area. It's all dead and there's trash everywhere. And I'd smoke a cigar, happy as a pig in poo.
Something that Will wanted me to mention too, and I think this might be a good time too. What is your Bacon Run race series?
Well, in keeping with my healthy lifestyle of cigars and that, I had an OCR mud run called Mud Mingle way back in the day, 2012-13. And it originally started off as a singles mud run. It was actually pretty cool. You got different wristbands, and if you wore this color, it meant you were interested in being spoken to. If you wore this color, oh, no, leave me alone. I'm just here to run. And it was called Mud Mingle. And we did a race on Cinco de Mayo. And the Mud Mingle was my kind of way. And again, this has always been almost been like a thread throughout my career, is I'm like, people are taking it too seriously. Even then, people are taking it too seriously. So let's make this ridiculous. So I took out the timing. We had like just some of the most ridiculous things you ever see. I had obstacles and all that. But one of the obstacles was knife throwing. It was actually going to be axe throwing, but the insurance came after us. So we did knife throwing, and we had pictures of fame. I think might have been Justin Bieber or somebody's backside on a giant board. And if you got 3 knives into the board, you won a stuffed animal. If you finished the race carrying that stuffed animal, you got a free race. And at the finish line, all of my volunteers had pool noodles. So instead of gladiators, they just beat the shit out of your pool noodles. And then the last moment was, as you came up, they would hold up your medal. So you put your head down for the medal, and everyone got a pie in the face. Everybody got we had like just trays and trays of whipped cream and paper plates, and everyone got a pie in the face. And I was like, this is it. And the start line was where I first used the major foam machine. The start corral was 9 feet deep of foam. So it was just goofy, complete kind of goofy.
I missed that.
Oh, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
And then for the Cinco de Mayo, I said, all right, so we're going to do margaritas at the water station. We'll do water as well, but we're going to do margaritas. So we did it. And a friend of mine, Scottish lad who plays the bagpipes. So I had a Scottish guy in a kilt with a parrot on his shoulder playing Jimmy Buffett at the water station on the bagpipes. Bagpipes, Jimmy Buffett. And then I was like, well, so it's a 5K. I have a second water station. How the hell do I top that? What can I do that's going to be memorable or stick out? And I was like, bacon. People like bacon. I'm just going to give people bacon. And I did it. And the social media was off the charts. People they talked about that more than the race itself. So I was like, okay. So that's kind of cool, because my background is also marketing. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'll keep an eye on that. And then I decided with my company, let's launch a couple of 5K races as well. So we have different portfolio items. So I said, I'll do a 5K regular race on the road, no obstacles or anything like that. I said, but I need a theme. What kind of a theme can I think of that would catch people's attention? There's color runs, there's zombie runs, there's this run. And I was like, ooh, bacon. And that was it. So I created the Great American Bacon Race in 2014. As I was with Battlefrog, I put a few on around South Florida. We did well. We did like 1,200 people in the first one with very little advertising. And in the end, Savage Race actually bought it off me, because I just was so busy with OCR. They bought it. We did a couple of races then. They just didn't have the bandwidth to carry on with it. So I bought it back in 2017, 18. And it's sitting below me. It's been in my garage ever since. So now that I'm taking a sort of a break from the traveling all the time, I'm going to put a few of these on. So yeah, the Great American Bacon Race is back, and there'll be 4 of them in Florida this year.
That's fantastic. I don't think I realized that had been going on for so long. That's amazing. Speaking to the drinking on course, it actually reminded me of Dirty Dash, I believe it was. And one of the obstacles was a beer chug obstacle. It was optional because whatever. But it was
Yeah.
very interesting, like the things that went on back then.
I don't know that. Was that the Down and Dirty? No, they didn't.
No, it was Dirty Dash. It was the logo was like a pig and the nostrils were two D's. I don't know how long it was around. I know like they used the Amesbury venue as everyone did back then in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And the like MC was like the most stereotypical like hippie dude with like dreadlocks that like
That's funny.
Yeah.
I made people, my very first race I ever did was called the Challenge. Matt Davis knows all about it. I based it around Fear Factor, which was huge at the time. And I thought, okay, so let's do, because I noticed, all these mud runs had these kind of various obstacles that were fear of heights, fear of drowning, fear of water, fear of tight spaces. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go after phobias. We'll do phobias. So I did fire. I did the 15-foot jump, like the Tough Mudder or Savage, walk the plank. So we had that, we had this, and I was like, the only thing that's missing is bugs. We always eat bugs on that. I was like, I wonder. So I ended up doing the research, found a company in California called Hot Licks, I think it is, and they're still going, and bought like about 20 pounds worth of freeze-dried crickets. And that was the obstacle. You ran up and you either did that or you had to do like an ice plunge. We had an ice plunge next to it. So you either ate the cricket, ate the bug, or you did that. And again, another just marketing thing that went really well was like social media. Did you eat the bug? I ate a bug. Oh my God, I ate a bug. So I love, and that's what I talked about earlier, the creativity and just going off the cuff and doing something so outlandish.
Mm-hmm.
I miss it.
I back in the day I worked for a company very small in New England, but it was Smithfest events, and we put on like Blizzard Blast, which was a winter themed one. They had like kegs that would swing. It was like Keg Kingdom, and it was a keg traverse, which was pretty cool. They did Panic in the Dark, where it was a zombie run, and they had like full on makeup artists come in. But something that I always dreamed of, and I don't know if it was ever done, but it was like a run through the movies one where like you'd have like a Jaws obstacle where it was like a water one, or like like Back to the Future with like the fire trails, and that could be the fire jump. But like that's the kind of stuff that would like pop up everywhere.
Yeah, that's the fun stuff. That's just getting creative and silly.
Yeah. So getting back to the now, for better or for worse, how has your position changed with the company?
So I'm now working with real estate, which is venue acquisitions, venue contracts, partnerships, working with LT. She's the director of that department. So that is where I am supporting. That's where the company wants me right now. So that is what I'm doing. A lot less travel, which is great. It's some years when it's 8 races as an RD, you're up to like with site visits, like almost 30 weeks of a year traveling.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to do that anymore.
And real quick,
getting tired.
Yeah, speak to that too, because I don't think people realize what goes into it. I know that I'm pretty good friends with Fran, so like with OCRWC.
Yep, of course. We love Fran.
Just like you wanting to go out to Mammoth Lakes, but like, everything's still frozen, I can't go over there. But it's not like you show up, that week, you get going. Like there's multiple site visits. You have to like talk about like what goes into this stuff that people take for granted.
So yeah, no, there's definitely, and we had that with Mammoth, as you correctly said. When we did the site visit, there was still people skiing down the mountain. There was only a little bit. There was a tiny thread of snow the way they kept, but that was like June. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the process is, the real estate department, which is where I'm at now, will find venues. We'll do it. We'll do what we call a site scout. I just did one the other day for a venue up north to have a look at it. So obviously the race director side of things comes in very handy there because I know what to look for.
Right.
So then we strike a deal, we do the contracts, get it all done, then we launch the event. From there, the planning team is usually well planned. Race director, project manager, and the construction manager. Then they coordinate a site visit. Usually, I've done them 2 months out, but 3 or 4 months out is the ideal. They'll go spend a couple of days, run up and down the mountain, run all over the place, GPS the crap out of it, look for build spots, look for parking locations, look for where the toilets might go. Is there any running water? It's a whole massive checklist of things that we go through on the site visit. Then we come back, we dump it all into like a big download, and this is this, and how about we do that? And we go back and forth, and then we submit it to leadership. And so it's very collaborative, and we just we have a bunch of things that we look for, a bunch of things that we look to avoid. But yeah, so it is quite a process. And then, as far as actually getting it done, we can be, OCRWC was a whole new brand for Spartan, at least. I've done it before, but all of the obstacles were completely unique to the Spartan build crew. So yeah, we were there for like 3 weeks. So we were there for a long time. It was that was a tough race. That was a very stressful one for everybody. Plus, it was the back of the year. A lot of people were going race to race to race. So yeah, that was a killer. But the race went off and it happened. So that's kind of the process from 30,000 feet.
Keeping with the giving credit where credit's due kind of theme, who are some like Spartan staff that you feel don't get enough credit? Like I feel like everyone knows and loves you. That there's a few other people that are like, most people could point out, but like, who are some people that do a lot behind the scenes that I feel like a lot of people don't get like the credit that they deserve?
I would probably say I know a lot of the race planners, because everybody, even since back in the day, the RD has been like the face, whether we like it or not. I'm a complete attention whore, so I love it. But so we get all of the race director this and this, and then the amount of times of thanks for an amazing course, or that wasn't even my race. I would say that the race planners, that we call them the RPMs, race project managers, who are basically supporting the race director on everything from permits to everything. It's a whole, they go through, they put together the race, the plans, make sure the website's updated, all the text is right, the address has the right links. It's so fiddly is the way to say. So I think the race planners definitely need to get a shout out. Obviously, I'd say course managers as well. Course managers do get it, although Steve Hammond gets lots of credit and he's not even a race director. He gives me shit all the time about that. He won race director of the year like three years in a row. He's like, I'm not a race director, but thanks. But Hammond's one of those people. He's just got the most positive attitude. He's just always like smiling and happy. He's become one of my closest friends in the industry. So I think course managers definitely, but it's a tough one. There's so many, There's so many people that make up putting this race on. From the registration team to make sure all the links are there and the prices are right, discount codes are all set up. You can go all the way down to food and beverage, make sure we have a drink, make sure we have sponsors bringing in the free beer and all that. So a lot of unsung heroes.
Yeah, I'm trying to be more vocal about that too, because I have volunteered for races, and I think people would be blown away with how much effort goes into even a smaller race back in the day too, but amplify that big machine that is Spartan. Although some could argue that not all cogs are firing the best. Like there's just so many people on the team that are just trying to put on an excellent event for people.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's just it's hard to say. You're right. It's a big machine. The funny thing is Spartan, because they've done so many. They've done everything. But as you say, at the beginning we were all throwing on races from the back of a U-Haul with like a Ryobi screwdriver and a friggin' hammer. Mm-hmm. And now, Spartan's got it down. I'll give them major props. I went over there with a fairly extensive event background anyway. Even before that, I was putting on music festivals and all that stuff. But I was very impressed by their systems in place. Because, you think about like, at one point we had 5 kits. Each kit would be East Coast, West Coast. And each kit was like 7 or 8 53-foot semis. So at any one time, you look at those big weekends, and we've got 3 races going on, or 4 races in the US alone, or maybe in Canada. That's upwards of 40 container trucks, trailers, crisscrossing the country. That's just to get the shit there. So just imagine the amount of logistics that go in to what's in that. Make sure it's there. Do we have the right metals in here? What's this? Why is this T-shirt for Wisconsin when we're in West Virginia? It's a monstrous wheel, but Spartan really has it down. That side of things, to which it's simplified. I wouldn't say it's simple, certainly never simple, but they have it down. It's cookie cutter is not the word I like to use, but it's almost there.
Yeah, as like a compliment. Yeah, I get to that.
Sort of, yeah.
So with your change and everything, you talked about it a little bit with the bacon run and everything too. But like, what's next for you? What are your plans to to relax a little bit more time with the family? Like, what are the changes for you? How's it going to affect you?
So yeah, I think the big takeaway for me, moving departments and not traveling as much, is time with my family. Absolutely. I absolutely, I mean, stupid thing to say because everyone, but I mean, yes, I just freaking love my family. I love spending time with them. I love being around, fishing with my son.
Not everyone says this, so you feel.
Oh no, okay, well, they should.
Yeah.
Sure, you're supposed to love your family. It's in the rules somewhere. But you know, I get more time to go fishing with my boy. My boy's 16 now. I mean, oh my god, last night it's weird flex here, but for the first time ever, I went for a cigar to the cigar bar, which is close by. And my son has just learned to drive. And my son picked me up from a bar. I don't drink, but regardless, I was like, oh my God, this is like such a moment in my life.
Mm-hmm.
My son is suddenly picking me up from a bar and taking me home. it was odd, but that's the stuff I love. So yeah, no, I just want to be hanging with my family, but you know, it's great to do a little bit of stuff for myself. A little 5K just gives me that creative outlet.
Yeah.
On the side, doesn't affect Spartan. I guarantee Spartan's not going to be launching the great Spartan bacon race anytime soon.
Yeah.
So, and I already spoke to my bosses and said, look, this is what I'm doing. It's not a conflict. And they're like, okay, that's fine. So they're good with it. I just have to really learn all the nuances of the new role, which is it's heavily into contracts and agreements and stuff like that. So it's definitely a different wheelhouse, but you know, that's what we do. You know, we learn, fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And where can people follow along with your jokes, your cigars?
I guess I'm on social media. I'm fairly heavy. I got my Facebook and Instagram. I'm not really a tiki-talker. I'm way too old for that. But yeah, I actually have. I don't know why. So when I decided, I think I can't do this dad joke every day anymore. I got a job to do. And after about a year and 2 years, I was like, all right. And then people kept sending me them. I used to get text messages and PMs all the time. And they sent me jokes, which is great. It was really beautiful. And I was like, well, the system works. You know, people are not, hey, you're an asshole. This race was shit and blah, blah, blah. It was like, here's a joke. So like, great. I didn't know what to do with it. So I was like, you know what? I'll set up a page. Set up a little page. And then I said, hey, everyone just dump them in here. We just hit 45,000 people yesterday.
Yeah.
Dad jokes and puns. I'm like, where the hell did these people come from? We were like 1,500 for like 3 years, and it just went insane. So yeah, they can go to Dad Jokes and Puns on Facebook, and that's definitely a good place for cheesy jokes. And yeah, my Instagram and Facebook are pretty cheesy too, if you're into cigars, fishing, or some obstacle stuff.
Yeah, I'll definitely be joining that group. And then also, fun fact, you did a post on Friday the 13th, which inspired me to watch the movie for the first time. I'm a big fan of horror. I'm a massive fan of Halloween, but it was my first time seeing that, so just wanted to give a shout out for that.
Now, so the important thing is, have you now watched the 27 sequels?
I know, not yet. That's an undertaking.
Because the first one is great. The first one is good, but it's completely irrelevant to what everybody knows.
Yeah.
There's no Jason Voorhees. There's no hockey mask. There's nothing. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it's fucking 50 years old now.
I'm like, he's not even. I mean, he's kind of he's barely in the movie. It blew my mind. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and my wife and I definitely enjoyed that night. So
yeah. So the second one is Jason. Friday the 13th Part 2 is Jason, but he still hasn't found the hockey mask. He actually wears a pillowcase, which is just not that scary. And then in Part 3, he discovers a hockey mask, and then that's it. But yeah, no, that's a great. I love all that cheesy horror, 70s, 80s zombie movies. I absolutely adore slasher films. Yeah, all day long. And my daughter, my beautiful little blonde, cuddly daughter, she's all about it. She loves Freddy Krueger, thinks he's amazing. So yeah, my boy doesn't give a shit. He's like, no, I'm gonna play basketball.
During the pandemic, haunted houses were closed, but what they did instead, a local one by us, is they had a drive-in movie night. But since they had all like the costumes and the scary people there, they would like bang on your car door and stuff. And we went the night where it was 2 movies, both super old. One was like the original like Night of the Living Dead, I believe it was.
Oh, Romero, my man.
Yeah, and the other one was I can't even remember the name, but also like incredibly old. And it was just such a good time to see like this old timey stuff while this actually like terrifying.
Oh, it's amazing. There's some gnarly shit from them. I mean, you look at The Exorcist and think it was 1971 that came out, and that still freaks people the hell out.
Yeah, it was so good.
But the slasher one, the 80s slasher stuff, like it didn't matter what was happening. You know that at least 3 jocks and 4 cheerleaders are going to get their heads cut off.
Yep.
I mean, that's just get me the popcorn. Let's do this.
So good. Awesome. Well, I just want to conclude in saying, thank you for everything that you've done. I know you're not dying.
I hope not. Spartan didn't I think he's dying. Abu Dhabi killed him. Let's just put him in real estate.
But I do want to say,
no, I'm good
for everything that you've done and whatever you continue to do. Thank you in advance for that as well.
Oh no, I appreciate it, man. I still love the whole camaraderie and the sport, and I wish it nothing but success. And especially the newer race directors coming through. I just let the new breed take over. Yeah. Let the old farts can go out to pasture for a bit.
Welcome back.
Thank you to Garfield Griffiths for taking the time to come on the show. Really appreciated it, and looking forward to seeing what's in store for you moving forward. For related episodes, there's I Am a Spartan, episode 154 with Garfield Griffiths. Scott Knowles, who's too big for us now that he won runner-up again and abandoned us for the round table. Just kidding. Get that to work. And OCRWC podcast, season 3, episode 10 with Garfield Griffiths. So go and check those out.
And subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts. We are Obstacle Running Adventures on all of the apps.
You can support us on Patreon for as little as $2, as many as $10, and get all sorts of behind-the-scenes perks over there.
Or leave us a review. And follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads.
Coming up next, I have an interview planned on Friday with an athlete that I've had my eye on for a few months, actually more than a few months now. But there's also someone very big in the industry who is potentially wanting to come on our podcast too. So we might have to make room for him or her as well. Caitlin, do you have a joke or a quote?
I do. My quote is from Morgan Harper Nichols. And they said, when you start to feel like things should have been better this year, remember the mountains and valleys that got you here. There are no accidents, and those moments weren't in vain. You are not the same. You have grown and you are growing. You are breathing, you are living. You are wrapped in endless bundles of grace, and things will get better. There's more to you than yesterday.
Awesome.
My joke is, how do you make 7 even?
Take out the S.
Oh man, did you know that or did you see?
Nope, I've heard of riddles and stuff like that before.
Oh, good job.
Also, we wanted to give a quick shout out. We forgot about this, so hopefully you're still listening. But we will be making an appearance at the Run Show.
Boston?
Yes. Not presenters or anything, but we'll be covering it again. And I think we'll be getting a code. We'll mention that in quick news next week, but just want to make sure I squeeze that in there before I forgot again. But that's just what wraps it up. My name is Michael Stefano.
And my name is Caitlin Ritter.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye!
Bye!
Thank you for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe to our show and write us a review on your favorite podcast app.
You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook and connect with us there.
Most importantly, we would appreciate it if you shared an episode with a friend so we can reach more ears
and continue to effectively shine a light on the people in our sport, as well as the events that we are so passionate about.
Our intro song is Streaker by Straight Up, and our outro music is Iron Call by The Best.
I feel like we already... Okay.
Did I mess this up?
I have no idea. That's fine.